Libertarians have this propaganda tagline they like to throw around to try to catch people's attention and maybe convince them to take a harder look at a practice they may have otherwise accepted uncritically. At least that's as generous of an interpretation I'm willing to grant the folks who say taxation is theft, over and over shutting down any hopes of productive political dialogue. The thing is, most Americans who take an honest, critical look at where their tax dollars are going will see that for most part, taxes fund projects that A, benefit society, and B, would be inefficient or unethical to fund privately. While we all have our disagreements on specific appropriations, calling taxation theft seems to me to be at best a gross exaggeration. Now, I am not suggesting we be less critical of the government officials we elected to represent our interests. The reason tax revenue is allocated somewhat well is because that's what people are looking out for. Think about the way a magic trick works. The magician doesn't try to fool the audience by hoping the audience isn't paying attention. They fool the audience by convincing them to pay attention to the wrong things. So there's a practice that is just as baked into our collective consciousness as taxation, but gets far less scrutiny. I think it will be very difficult to make any meaningful improvements to society before we step back and take a long, hard look at this question. Why are we okay with giving the rich money because they have so much money and charging the poor money because they have so little? Interest is like a perverse Robin Hood stealing from the poor to give to the rich. It is so blatantly evil, so obviously antithetical to anything resembling a fair, just world, but we just allow the entire economy to be run on this idea. I know the reasoning. I know how risk works. I know the wealthy get lower interest rates because they're more likely to pay back loans. I'll even grant the idea that in some situations, interest loans are the most effective way to fund certain types of growth. But if we want to get serious about making the economy more fair, we need to take a much more critical look at interest.